Hey guys, you see over there, they're spraying the fields. So I'll be talking about that in a bit here. So that's how this encounter went down. They were spraying the fields at night. I just want to show you right now because you can see them down there. They're spraying right now. So this is all citrus. All this is citrus orchards all the way around here. Lemons and oranges. Okay. And then I'll be talking about it in a bit. Cryptid 559. Hello everyone. So today's video, we're going to be talking about some encounters that happened around on the outskirts of Orange Cove, California. Right now we're east of Orange Cove. Orosi is in this direction. And before I get started in those encounters, and then also we'll be talking about some where I used to live out here in the haunted house. We had a lot of paranormal activity, so I'll be talking about that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about this missing person that has been missing for today's been 3 weeks now. He's out of Selma, California. His name's Ron. He went up 3 weeks ago to go hunting up in the Dinky Creek, Shaver Lake area. Now, if you're from around here, you know where I'm talking about. It's just on the outskirts of Yosemite National Park. If you guys can go to our Facebook page, you'll have all the information. You'll have the flyer there. I might do another video down the line about it, but I just want to make a shout out real quick. If you guys are watching this video and go to our Facebook page, go look at that bulletin, Ron's missing person bulletin. That way you get all the information. Keep an eye out. They still haven't found his truck nor him. So just wanted to share that with you. Now, if you're into the cryptid and paranormal world, you probably have heard of the missing 411 and the area that Ron went to. That's a big hotspot for the missing 411. If you don't know or never heard of the missing 411, I advise you to look it up on YouTube. Look up David Paulides, gentleman, and also look up Missing 411. And there's 3 documentaries out, and I suggest you go watch those, okay? And that way you can learn about Yosemite and the Dinky Creek area that I'm talking about. It's a major hotspot for missing people. So if you're I would suggest you go and check those videos out. All right, now let's get started on the encounter. So back in the early 1990s, I was working out with a company out here, and I was doing farm labor work. So they had all these they take care of all these ranches out here, okay? And it was in the summer. I believe it was 1990, 91, and what happened was it was during the summer, like I said, and it was too hot during the day, so they couldn't spray. They couldn't spray the citrus, so they had to spray at night. So I heard of a story, and I've never done the video, but I heard of one of our co-workers actually had to spray at night. So he was spraying at night, and it was on the other side of this mountain, the citrus trees, and something large, he said it was something large and white, ran across in front of the spray rig, and that spooked him out pretty bad. He had to eventually go home. He was too spooked out. And then our co-workers were always messing with him after that because he told the story, but he was serious. And these co-workers were they would put up these white coveralls, spray suits that they use when they're spraying, and they would put them up in some of the ranches that he would go to, and they would tie it to a citrus tree just to scare him. But They're always harassing him. But anyways, but he was serious. He said that something tall and it was all white ran in front of the spray rig at night, spooked the heck out of him. He ended up having to go home. And I remember that story from way back then. And now, I also lived out in the outskirts of Orange Cove, and I rented for about a year, and just paranormal activity nonstop at that house. And it's not very far from here. It's probably maybe about 3 miles from here in this direction. So I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. But other stuff that's happened around Orange Cove, um, there's been encounter. There's been another creature encounter on the other side, and when we go to the other side of the mountain, I'll talk about that in a little bit here. But I just wanted to point out there's power lines right here. So back in the day, when I wasn't doing this, I didn't really know much about the Bigfoot and all that, being down here in the valley floor. But now doing this, we find out they might follow these power lines as a road, as the freeway, the Bigfoot freeway. So I noticed that there's power lines here. I also noticed, it might be they might use them is these wind machines, these tall cylinder looking things coming out of these fields. These are wind machines. So they turn these on in the winter at night when the temperature gets too low, like 28 degrees usually. They have to turn these on to circulate the air to get some warmer air all around the citrus, so the citrus don't freeze, and also the lemons. So those are called wind machines. These silver cylindrical objects coming out of the fields. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. They might use that also as a road. See how it goes there's citrus going all the way to the mountains, as you can see. All the citrus is going all the way to the mountains. Now, if the Bigfoot are up in the mountains, they've come. I'm pretty sure now they come down, and during the winter time, and almost all year round, because they got food. They got food all over the place here, because you got lemons, you got citrus, you got grapes also out there, olives, pomegranates. I mean, you got a mixture of stuff out in there. So they probably come down the hills and roam around in these citrus trees. And but I just wanted to show you that it's a possibility, that they can be down here, and I believe they are, because there's a food source down here. So okay, I just wanted to show you that. So let's go to the other side of the mountain, and we'll keep going on the encounter. All right, guys. So now we're on the other side of the mountain here, and I forgot to mention, on this direction, this is where me and my family had the triangle encounter heading towards Orosi, California. So it was out here in this direction, about 2 miles south of Orange Cove. So over here, down this is Manning Avenue. I'm not going to give you the exact location, because I don't want people going to the house and bugging the current people that are living there. So I'm just going to tell you, it was off of Manning Avenue, just on the outskirts of Orange Cove, on the south end of Orange Cove. And it was back in 2000. We were there from 2000 to we're almost there a year, a little over a year. But anyways, as soon as we rented that house, we were experiencing paranormal activity right off the bat. And like I said back then, I wasn't very familiar with all the paranormal stuff going on, and I didn't think of it as paranormal. But after that, that's when the show started coming out on cable. The Ghost Taps. The show Taps was coming on cable, and then and I started watching it, and I was starting to pick up similar activity at the house. Light bulbs always blowing out, constantly changing light bulbs. Temperature shifts inside the house. Like you can see your breath inside the house. That's how cold it got inside the house. And only certain sections of the house, in certain spots, which was weird. Knocking on the wall in our bedroom wall. It was knocking constantly every night along back and forth. The wall. It would go back and forth. On the other side was a hallway, and then it was stairs to the bedrooms upstairs, which were two bedrooms upstairs and a bath. And downstairs was another bedroom in the middle of the house. We had a living room, we had a dining room, kitchen, and then a big old family room. So and then there was another restroom. So it was a big house for just me and my wife. We had just gotten married. We rented that house because my dad took care of that ranch, and he ended up getting us that we're able to rent that house. So it was a huge house for me and my wife. So we didn't really use the upstairs at all, and half of the house, like the dining room and the living room on the front side of the house, we didn't use that at all. Oh, and I also had an office room on the other side of that wall that we always heard knocking every night, knocking every night. It would go across the wall and come back. It was a pain in the butt because I would have to get up early to go to work, and as soon as we go to bed, it started knocking. Like it knew, like we were trying to go to sleep, and it started knocking every night. And I had to leave it got so bad that I had to leave the TV on at night just to let to so I wouldn't hear that knocking. Um, and sometimes I would just get upset, and I knock back on the wall, and enough, I would say enough already, and uh, and it wasn't rodents like mice running back and forth or other types of rodents that would be in the walls. You didn't hear any of that. I grew up in the country in another country house, and I know what those sounds, the sounds that the rodents make when they're in the walls or underneath the house. And it wasn't that. I knew it wasn't. It was not any rodent. So it was crazy. And then okay, so there was a window behind our headboard, and my wife would hear knocking at times, like tapping on the window at night, late at night, and I would be asleep, and she would hear it, but she wouldn't wake me up because she knew I had to get up early and go to work. And my wife's the type that she's not scared of anything, and and I would tell her, I go, you need to wake me up so I can go and check what's going on. And but she one particular night she did because we heard a loud bang behind our headboard, and this was around 9, 10 o'clock at night. There's no lighting out there. Is just what I'm trying to say. There's no lights out there, so it's pretty dark around the house. So, anyways, my wife I'm gonna go out there. She had it already. I'm gonna go out there. I want to see what it is. I go, I go. You're not going out there by yourself, so hold on. So we got a bat. I had a bat there, and she had a broom. So we go out there it was about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So we go out and we go around where the window is to our bedroom on the other side of the house, and it's all dark. Okay, can't see nothing. We did have a flashlight, but you can't see anything. There's citrus trees around the house, and you don't know if anybody's hiding in there, or you can't see anything. So we didn't hear anything. We went around. We looked at the window. There was nothing. Um, so then we ended up going back in the house, and then at times the alarm would go off at the house, like at 1 or 2 in the morning. It would go off, and it would freak us out because we think somebody's trying to get in the house. So then I'm running to go turn off the alarm, and it won't shut off. I'm putting the code to shut it off, and it won't shut off, and it won't shut off. And then it finally shuts off, and then we have to go and check all the doors and in the side of the house that we don't even use. We had to go check the doors, go check the upstairs bedrooms, make sure nobody's up there. It was a pain in the butt, always stuff was going on. And then one particular Saturday, I went to work early, and my wife was home, and she said she was washing the dishes, and all of a sudden she noticed the door that that was close to the kitchen was wide open to the outside. And she called me. I remember her calling me and said, "Hey, I was washing the dishes and I just noticed that the door was wide open. And I was right here and I didn't see it open. I didn't go outside." And she asked me if I had closed it. I go, "Of course I've closed it when I left." And so that was another thing that happened. Another one was, so she was going to school during that time, and she was working on a paper late at night, and it was around 10 o'clock at night. So I was in the family room, and she was in the office room on the other side of the bedroom. There's the office room, and in this office room, the walls were all windows. They're all picture windows. So on this wall, you had a big picture window. This one, a big picture window, and then on this side, another picture window. So it was three. All the walls were windows, and and she was working in there. She was typing up her report, and I was in the family room watching the news, and all of a sudden I hear bam, and I hear her scream my name, and I go running over there, and I go, "What happened? What happened?" She was all freaked out. She said that the blinds behind her fell, and then the ones on the north side fell, and then the ones in front of her fell, like a domino effect. And and again, they were not connected together, and it freaked the heck out of her. And yeah, I got in there, all the blinds were on the floor. It's like, what the heck? And yeah, so that was another incident. And then during that time, also my brother-in-law started going out there and working on cars because he was a mechanic, and he was working on cars out there. And he would stay out, at times late till about midnight or 1 in the morning working on these cars. And we would go sometimes to Fresno, and he would stay, and we lock up the house or whatever, and we would come back late, already dark, but he would be out there at times. He'd come and go. And he said one time he was out there, and we were up in Fresno, and so it was already dark, and he said that the kitchen light turned on, and he called us and said, "Hey, are you guys home, or are you guys in Fresno?" And he thought we were in Fresno. I go, "Well, we're in Fresno." He goes, I thought so, but the kitchen light is on, and it wasn't on earlier." I go, "I didn't leave any lights on." He goes, "Well, we've been here." It was my brother-in-law and my wife's uncle were there at the time working on the car, and they noticed that the light turned on. And then he said, "Well," he called me and he said, "It's on." He goes, "I know it wasn't on earlier." He goes, "I don't know what to tell you." And they didn't have a key to the house, so it wasn't, it's like if they went in there and left it on. It wasn't them because they didn't have a key to get inside the house. So I told him, "Well, I don't know. I mean, you guys have been there. You guys noticed if somebody would have gone in or something." So I told him, "Just leave it alone, and then when we get home, we'll see what happens. We'll see what's going on." But by the time we got home, the light was off again. So he was just tripping out. I was like, "Dude, I don't know. We both saw the light was on, and then it was off by the time you guys got back. It was already off." So then other stuff happened, and the last one that was it. That we ended up moving out. Was I was in the family room again. It was around 10 o'clock at night. My wife was already asleep in the bedroom. We had a dog, a Dalmatian dog, and she was outside in the patio, and we had the sliding door right there in the family room. And I was watching her. I had the curtains open enough to watch her because she would watch. She would watch me as I was sitting there, or she would lay right there by the sliding door. And then she started getting mad. She started growling and barking towards the garage, and she never did that since when we got her as a baby. She's never done that, and it was kind of odd. So I was just watching her, and she was staring towards the garage and growling and barking like really upset. So I got up and I went to the kitchen and looked through the window through the kitchen, and I didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the garage. That we had a big old light in the garage, but we didn't see any. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. And she stopped barking, so I went back to sit down. And as soon as I sat down, again, she started barking and growling, and she was staring straight at the garage. And so I get up and I go to the sliding door, and from the sliding door, you can see the garage. You can see the garage, and you can see the main door, the roll up door, and you can see there's a. It also had a side door to go in. You can see all that from the sliding door, and I was looking through there the second time, and I didn't see nothing. And then she stopped barking. She was just staring at me. So then the third time, I go back and I sit down, and as soon as I sat down again, she started barking, and again, it's like, nah. And this time I said, off, calm down, Paris. Her name was Paris. I go, calm down, just quiet. And when I said that, there was this huge bang, like right, it felt like it was right behind me, inside the house. But in my head at that time, the garage door, the automatic uh, machine wasn't working. It would open automatic. I had to pull it. So I thought, to me in my head, it was somebody was trying to open the garage door by hand, and then they let it go and it hit, and it made that loud sound. But I'm thinking about it back now. It's like it sounded like it was inside the house. Like it was a loud, huge bang. And as soon as I told my dog, cut it out, be quiet. That's when it happened. I freaking jumped off the couch, and she went crazy. My dog went crazy when she heard that, and she was staring at me, and she was barking. And I go, "What the? There's nothing. It's just me." So then I ran into I ran to the bedroom. I told my wife, "I think somebody's trying to get in the garage." So he says, "Well, turn the alarm on." So I turned the alarm on. Called my dad. My dad he lives in Orange Cove, so he lives about a mile away. So him and my brother came right away, and I told them what happened, and they came right away. And I didn't go outside until I saw them coming up the driveway. Then I went outside because I didn't know if somebody was hiding around the house, waiting for somebody to come out and open the door. So I just waited until they got there, and I didn't know my mom had also called the Fresno County Sheriffs to go out there, so they were on their way also. So as soon as I saw my dad and my brother coming up the driveway, the vehicle, then I opened the door and I met them outside, but didn't hear anything after that. The sheriffs came out there. They drove through the ranch all over. It was two sheriffs. They drove throughout the ranch. They didn't see nothing. Um, but yeah, that was the end of it. After that, we ended up moving, and that was it. So when we ended up moving, my brother-in-law ended up renting the place from us. So he stayed there, and he would work from out there, and he was fixing cars. And he, like I said, he would stay out late, like sometimes till 1 in the morning, working on these vehicles. And he experienced stuff also. I remember one particular night when we were going. We were already in bed. It was around 10:30, and he called us, and he asked me, "Hey, have you ever? Did you guys leave the light on in the upstairs restroom?" And I go, "Dude, we never used that side. And besides, yeah, we never used that side, and we never used that restroom, so we were hardly ever up there. Even when we left, everything was turned off." He goes, "Dude, I'm outside, and I don't even." He goes, "I don't use that. I don't even use the house hardly." He goes, "But the light is on upstairs in the restroom." And I go, "I don't know, dude. I go, unless somebody's in it." He goes, "I'm gonna go check." And he was by himself, but he had a, I don't know, a bat, I think he had, and he went in there. And I told him, he goes, "I'm gonna go check the house, make sure nobody's in here." He goes, "Well, call me back in 10 minutes, and if you don't call me back, I'm gonna head out there. Uh, if I don't hear from you." So he hung up. He went and checked the house, called me back, because, yeah, dude, I turned it off. There's nothing, nobody around. I checked all the rooms. There's nothing in here. Checked all the doors, all the windows. I go, "I don't know what to tell you." I go, "I told you that house is there's stuff going on in that house." And so he started experiencing stuff. Another one that he experienced was it was late at night again. He said that down the driveway, he remembers seeing the Green Reaper with the sickle staring at him. He remembers it was down the driveway, at the end of the driveway towards the road, and he remembers seeing it. And then what's odd is that same week he ended up having an accident, and luckily, thanks to God, nobody was hurt, but he did have an accident with him and my niece. She was little at the time, but luckily nothing happened to all the parties. So thanks to God. But yeah, that was that same week when he saw that Green Reaper, and I don't know, dude. That house, there's something going on there. And he goes, another one was he would hear banging because he had a couple of cars out there, and when he would work on car, he was working on a car. He would hear banging, somebody banging the cars, and he would go out there and check because he's out there obviously working in the garage, and then the cars were parked right there along the citrus trees, and he would go out there. He ended up getting a bulldog or a pit bull to accompany him when he's out there, and yeah, he just heard a lot of stuff, experienced a lot of stuff. Oh, another one was the alarm. The alarm would go off, and then he wouldn't be able to shut it off, or the opposite. He wouldn't be. He checked the whole house. He tried to turn on the alarm. The alarm wouldn't turn on. It didn't want to turn on. It didn't want to turn on. And then it's just a lot of stuff happened in that house, that whole property area. So that was our experience at that house, and I'm telling you, it's just on the outskirts, on the southern end of Orange Cove, off of Manning Avenue. Another thing, at that same property where that house was, there was an encounter later on after we had left. My dad worked for that company, and they had a shop, just a ways from that house, and then there was another little house next to the shop. So they at this particular time they were breaking into the shop at night, and then so they were on high alert. The ones that lived close to the shop, they were renting there, so they had a bunch of dogs. And this particular evening, it was around 12 or 1 in the morning, their dogs start barking and going all crazy. And the gentleman that lived there and the son went out, and the gentleman had a gun. So he goes up, let's go check the shop because the dogs aren't, he told his son, let's go check the shop because they've been breaking in. Let's go see if what's going on, because these dogs don't quiet down. So they went out there, they walked the shop, nothing, checked all the doors, everything was closed. And then he ended up walking down because the dogs went down the avenue between these citrus orchards. So they went down this avenue following the dogs, and then the dogs stopped. And at one point, so they caught up with the dogs, but I don't remember how the dogs were reacting. I don't remember them telling me anything about that. But anyways, the son was talking to the dad as they were walking down that avenue, and the dad stops, and he froze. The son noticed that the dad froze, and he's asking his dad, what's going on? What happened? What are you looking at? And he didn't say anything. So then the son turns down the avenue, and there it is. He said it was a giant in the middle of the avenue. And I go, giant. And when they told me the story about giant, he goes, yeah, it was. We can see the silhouette of a man, but it was way bigger than the citrus orchards. It was huge. It was a man standing in the middle, a giant. And my dad, remember, had the gun. My dad just turned around and started walking back to the house. And I told my dad, where are you going? And he didn't say a word. And so he just started walking back to the house. So I took off, obviously behind him. And my dad never talked about it. Never. It scared the heck out of him. Never said a word about it. But I got the story from the son. The son is the one that told me. And so that happened in that area also. And then we also made another video in our YouTube channel called Strange Whistling. So what happened that time, it was during the day. My dad and another coworker of his, they were at the shop, and they kept hearing these strange whistlings coming out of the citrus around the shop. And my dad told me one time, he goes, I don't know, we're working out there and something's like whistling at us. And I go, whistling? And by that time, we already had this channel and going. I go, you know what? and we know a little bit more about Bigfoot and these cryptids, what they do. And I go, you know what? Why don't you whistle back? Whistle back, and if it whistles back at you, then yeah, there's something going on. There's either somebody out there messing with you, or there's something else going on. So my dad doesn't believe in all this paranormal Bigfoot stuff. So he did it though. He says that next time I hear it, I'll do it. So that same week, he ended up hearing it again. They were working at the shop, and they whistled, and it ended up whistling back at him. And then him and his coworker went towards where the whistle was coming from to see if there was somebody messing with them, or so they went out there and they split apart, and they get to the area where they think the whistling's coming from, and there's nothing. They didn't hear nobody running away or anybody on the bike. They didn't see nothing, nobody. So then he tells me that, and that's why we did the video out there. I believe it was me and Jesus were out there, and I don't know. There's a lot of strange happenings around there. This whole area here. And like I said, we had the UFO encounter, the triangles back in late '87 out there. The guy had his encounter of this white creature in the fields, early '90s, 1991. We lived out here in 2000, 2001. My dad had that experience of whistling about 2000. I can't remember I want to say it was like 5 years ago, around there. So we're about 2020, around there, 2019. And there was another incident where another one of my dad's co-workers told him, and he couldn't even believe it himself. He goes, I don't know, I'm tripping out or something. But he told my dad it was quitting time, or it was getting close to quitting time around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I just don't know the time, like the year it happened, but it was on the south side of Orange Cove, one of the properties off of Manning Avenue, just lining up again, all this area right here. He was taking a trailer to one of the ranches, and as he was going into town, there was a water pump, and he noticed this creature trying to hide behind the water pump. He said it had red eyes. It was all black, had red eyes, and it looked like it had a little bit of like horns on it, on the head. And this was like around 5 o'clock in the evening, and it was daylight. And he said that, dude, am I seeing things or what? And he goes, no, I saw it. And it was trying to hide behind the water pump as I was passing by. And that's the ranch where he was going. But he was going around the ranch to go into the avenue that was on the other side of the field of the ranch. And he said when he passed it, it dug down, and then it came back up a little bit, and then it took off into the fields. And then he had to go inside the ranch, so he was all tripping out. So he went around, and then he went into the avenue where he can go. And in the middle of that orchard was another water pump where he was going to leave the tank, the trailer. And when he got to that trailer, that thing was there. That whatever he said, I don't know what it was. I just kept going, and I took off. I didn't even leave the trailer. He said he took off. He was telling my dad that, and my dad was just like, what? He goes, yeah, I don't know what it was. I didn't stay to see what it was. It was just black. It had red eyes, and it had like horns on the head. And so I'm telling you, all this stuff is all in this area here, all happening around this area. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Again, keep an eye out if you're in this area. Keep an eye out for that missing person. The gentleman's name's Ron. Again, go to our Facebook page, and the bulletin's on there, all the information, description of his vehicle. We're working on some projects here in the valley, just waiting on confirmation before I say anything. So hopefully we get you another video soon, get up another video for you. Just been busy with other stuff going on. But thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe, share it to your friends, family, whoever you think likes this kind of material. Thank you.